Since the dawn of time, human beings have found all sorts of methods to convey our own emotions. Whether it be through speaking, physically, or even through the written word, we find a way of sharing with each other how we feel or how we want them to feel. An example, you hug me, you must be happy. You scream at me, you must be mad. There's also the emotions that the recipient themselves can feel. Good or bad, throughout time we find ways of not only communicating on a wider scale, but even just on a personal scale. Knowing something about someone you love or care about, some people like to be treated differently than others. An example of this could be something called love language, which you can look into if you like. Point is, there is one method that is more creative and more unique than most, and that method, of course, is music. Hello refiners and fellow mudbeards, and today I wanted to return with another Severance video. We're getting close to the season 2 finale. See, the music in Severance is some of the most unique and enthralling stuff I've ever heard. Arguably only comparable to one of my favorite movies, Everything Everywhere All at Once. What these projects do so well is provide music that perfectly captures the quirkiness of the narrative they're presented in. Before we go any further, I want to clarify that I am not a musician, I cannot read musical notes, and I can barely read at a 5th grade level, so you're not going to get any expertise breaking down how the composer so brilliantly did what he did, but I can convey how I feel it affected the narrative and the emotions that I feel it displayed. See, the reason why the art of music is such a powerful form of communication is it's able to not only utilize but tap into the part of the mind that is hard to express through words or some form of physicality. Music really is one of the most unique ways to illustrate one's inner thoughts. And what also makes music so magical is how it can make the listener feel. And the way this can be utilized in narrative is by finding a genre that fits together. For some people, the music used within a story is the primary takeaway of the story as a whole. An example of that I could use is a movie called Clash of the Titans, which came out quite a few years ago, but the trailer for it had a song called Bird and the Worm.
One day, somebody's got to say enough.
I remember first seeing this trailer, and the music had me so hyped for the movie that I had watched the movie twice. Now in retrospect, the movie wasn't the greatest, I don't really remember it too well. Maybe upon rewatching it I feel differently, but I do vividly remember that trailer. And interestingly enough, I remember it better in my head than rewatching it. And it doesn't just have to be a rock song. Some people can take an action-oriented scene or movie and illustrate such a weird combination of sounds that perfectly fits what they're trying to do. Another example I gave earlier was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Brilliant artists Sun Lu were able to perfectly build up the tensity of the situation that the characters were going through while also making you feel a bit empathetic towards the plight they were all dealing with. And that goes into my next point. Some artists are so creative / empathetic or sympathetic that they are not only able to make a song or sound that sonically pleases them, but also know their audience well enough to figure out what emotion it will convey ahead of time. Which is hard to do considering music is one of the easiest things to interpret in so many different ways. So while it would be fitting for a show like Severance to utilize that opening jazz sequence when Mark is making his way through the hallways in episode 1, which is already a brilliant track all by itself, the theme of said track could have taken up the entire series. But no, composer Theodore Shapiro goes above and beyond by perfectly capturing that same uniqueness I was describing with Everything Everywhere All at Once. See, when a lot of people walk away from a film or TV series that has a lot of key moments, a lot of those moments don't work well without the music. But interestingly enough, a lot of people won't remember most music that plays during key moments. Now here's an interesting experiment for you. Find the Severance Season 1 playlist, find anyone who's even remotely watched Severance or even heard of it, and play any of the songs on there for them. See how long it takes or which song it takes for them to actually recognize that it's from Severance. The reason I encourage this experiment is because I want to see if Theodore Shapiro's music is as iconic as I personally find it to be. Here is one of my genuine reactions to a sequence that played during episode 7. My goodness, that was beautiful. I kind of want to rewind it just for that scene, my goodness. This might be my favorite episode of the whole series. It's just eye candy, every bit of it. And ear candy. It's just stimulating, all of it. See, not only does each song bring its own unique flavor that separates it from the rest, but it all falls in line under this huge umbrella that Shapiro's able to capture, helping guide us through most of the scenes and plot points that happen within the show. And while I'm not trying to discount any of the other amazing work that's put into the show, I would argue that the music put into it carries half of the narrative. The reason you feel emotionally devastated when something happens to one of our characters is because the narrative is built up well, but also because of the way the music is conveyed. The reason the reintegration scenes are as disorienting as they are is because of the wild, kooky nature that he composes the songs that play. The reasons we are able to sit and watch several seconds or even minutes worth of characters staring at each other or walking somewhere is partially because of the cinematography and the beautiful actors on screen, but I'd also argue because of the music that plays during the scene. To add to my point, here are a few of the most pivotal scenes in the series without any music at all.
Agnes, and verbally encourage her to forego further suicide attempts.
La valse, on est deux, tu es dans mes bras, en deuxième temps redonne déjà. Une valse à trois temps, qui s'offre encore le temps, qui s'offre encore le temps de...
And that perfectly illustrates why some people like me, people who listen to some music and don't even pay attention to the words just because of the ways the sound actually makes you feel, can not only capture the themes, emotions, and clues of the show, but also keep audiences engaged to scenes that relatively go on a little too long. And I'm not one to complain about long scenes, I don't mind. And of course, there are other aspects of the show that elevate it above the rest. Whether it be its narrative, whether it be its cinematography, I'm just arguing that the music composed is just one huge slice of this big perfect pizza we call Severance. But I want to know what you guys think. Have you listened to the soundtrack by yourself? How does it make you feel when you do? Did you try the experiment I mentioned earlier? How did it go? Are there any movies or series where you mostly remember the music and not much else? Either way, music's a powerful thing, and while at some point in my YouTube journey I'm hoping to start another channel focused primarily on music altogether, for now I just wanted to bring this video out for my Severance fans. That being said, if this video does get 10,000 views or 300 likes, I will officially start off my music channel. That one won't be uploaded to as often, but it is something I do genuinely want to try. Music's been a pretty important part of my journey, so it's definitely something I was always planning on doing. So I figured I'd present an unwinnable challenge for you all. That being said, either way, I appreciate you guys watching. I really hope you enjoyed Severance so far. Season 2 has absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I'm wondering where they're gonna go next. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, stay defiant and stay jazzy.